Here's a short list of 10 to 20 hidden gem cheap wonder kids for every single position in Football Manager 2023. Starting off with goalkeepers, Alejandro Iturbe, with an asking price of £2.9 million, just £2.9 million at the start of the game. He could be the one for you. Standout attributes in this particular save include jumping reach, aerial reach, handling, punch-in reflexes, and throwing. Now his potential ability in this particular save was 152. This guy is 166, which means in your save he could be anywhere from 140 to 170 because he's one of the players who has variable potential ability. But scratch that, you'll pick him up for basically nothing. You can see here, contracted to Water FC, valued at £0. 84 grand, I think, is the compensation fee or something like that. You'd be mad not to sign him. Lucas Chevalier here has a potential ability of 153 on this particular save. You pick him up for around £9 million. This 20-year-old French, fairly professional goalkeeper has standout attributes of decisions, 16, that's huge, aggression, bravery, determination, and jumping reach. He's 6'2". Reports suggest, in this particular save anyway, he is a fairly consistent performer. You can pick Charlie Stepford up for around £4 million at the start of the game. He's an 18-year-old English goalkeeper playing over in Holland. Standout attributes here on this particular save of kicking, determination, and anticipation. Reports tell me that he is a fairly consistent performer, but I think he does start the game off injured, which is problematic. Dennis Seaman next. No relation to David Seaman, but you would be forgiven for thinking that with his amazing attributes. This 16-year-old German kid has rushing out 16, aerial reach 15, determination 18, aggression 15, and jumping reach 16 here on this save. You can capture your very own Seaman for around... oh dear. Capture your very own Seaman for 13.25 million quid. He's a consistent performer. Lucas Canizares will cost you about £2.5 million at the start of the game. He's got great potential. He's 20 years old. He's Spanish. He's playing at the Real Madrid B team. Jumping reach 15, bravery 14, aggression 14 here on this save, as well as good commands of his area and great handling. Luka Plodiec next. This guy is looking so good. 17-year-old, again, German again. Aerial reach of 18, jumping reach of 19. He's 6'6". Reports suggest he's a fairly consistent performer, and you can pick him up for 3.4 million quid. Stefano Turati, this Italian 20-year-old, can be picked up for about 7 million quid at the start of the game. He's got a spirited personality and some really good attributes. 1-on-1 16, determination 15, positioning 15 in this particular save. With reports suggesting that he's a fairly consistent performer, why not splash the cash on this guy? I mean, he is out on loan, so that's probably a reason not to. Another one who you're probably not going to sign is Gabriel Slonina. He'll cost you about 30 million quid, and he's out on loan, right? So those are two big sticking blocks there. Determination though 18, jumping reach 17, 6'4". We couldn't not include him, and reflexes 14 as well. My scout tells me he's a fairly consistent performer, has a good shot stopping ability, is a model citizen. He's great. He's just too much money, right? And he's out on loan. It's annoying. And then we've got Capriel. He's actually 21 here, which is older than I normally go. Potentially he had his birthday in the last 2 weeks when we scouted him, which hopefully is the case, because otherwise he shouldn't qualify. Reflexes, rushing out, one-on-ones, handling, commandance of area, natural fitness. He's a fairly consistent performer, and get this, you can pick him up at around 2 million quid. There's your list, guys, of our top 10. First up, Andrew Omibambadele. £18 million will pick you up this Irish 20-year-old fairly determined centre-back. Now, he has played games in the Premier League. It might not be too much of a hidden gem to some of you, but he's so good I couldn't not include him on this list. Now, this Spanish 20-year-old Quique Salas, you can pick him up for around £9 million at the start of the game. He is exceptional in this save anyway. Tackling 16, passing 17, heading 14, vision 17, jumping reach 17. He's 6'1", and just look at this scout report. A very consistent performer. His attribute for consistency on this save is 20 out of 20. Ronnie Edwards next, and this 19-year-old English centre-back could provide some of you with huge value. About 3 million quid you can pick him up for. He can use either foot. He's got a balanced personality, and some of his standout attributes at just 19 are tackling, technique, composure of 15, acceleration, stamina, and decisions. Filippo Mane will cost you about £5 to £6 million at the start of the game. He's a 17-year-old Italian resolute personality centre-back, with determination being his key attribute here. Let me know, by the way, if you've signed any of these players and how they are doing in your save. Always great to hear from you down in the comments box below. Don't forget to subscribe while you're down there. João Fonseca, £2.8 million at the start of the game you can pick him up for. He's just 15 and he's got a standout attribute of determination and natural fitness here in this save. Reports suggest he's already a fairly consistent performer and displays resolute characteristics. Nathan Zizi next, and this 17-year-old French centre-back will cost you around £3 million at the start of the game. Jump in reach being his biggest standout attribute here, and he's 6'3". Reports obviously suggest that he's good in the air and has a balanced to normal personality, but also say that he's fairly slow as well, so like that's not good, is it? Fernando Somalinos is an interesting one because he'll cost you about £2.5 million at the start of the game, and he's another one with great attributes right at the start. He's 20, he's Spanish, he's got a balanced personality, he's described by the media as a centre-back, and he's got tackle in 16 and technique of 16 as well. He's 6'2", he's got good vision, positioning, heading. Definitely one to look out for. Christian Mosquera, £4.2 million at the start of the game. Aggression is his standout attribute here, as well as natural fitness. He's 6'3", has a balanced personality, and no real standouts underneath the bonnet when we look at the scout reports. Castella Lucaba next. He has a potential ability of 155 in this save. Will cost you a pretty penny though. I think about £12 million is his asking price. But this 19-year-old French kid has what it takes to be world class, mark my words. He's already proficient at heading, marking, tackling and positioning, the attributes that you want obviously from your centre back. He's got great work rate, composure and stamina as well. Looking under the bonnet, we can see he's a fairly consistent performer and can play in a couple of positions. In at number 11, Linus Gretcher, this 18-year-old German, fairly determined centre back. It's got some really cool standout attributes, namely anticipation and determination. £14 million is gonna get it, Linus Gretcher, this guy at the start of the game. In at number 10, Jensen Seelt. Around £12 million will pick you up this Dutch 19-year-old balanced personality centre-back with standout attributes in this particular save anyway, being work rate, jump in reach, pace and heading. Reports suggest he's already a fairly consistent performer and could be fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country. Gaston Avia next will cost you around £20 million, so not cheap, but has a potential ability of 155 in this save. He's already 20 years old and you can tell that he's already got some really, really good attributes. Reports suggest he's a fairly consistent performer as well, but beware, potentially could be fairly susceptible to injuries. Lewis Jackson next, and this guy, about £5 million will pick you up the 16-year-old Scottish centre-back from Man United under 18s with a potential ability in this save anyway of 158 out of 200. He's got a lot of work to do in terms of increasing his attributes, with standouts being aggression, anticipation, passing, pace, natural fitness and acceleration, but he's already a very consistent performer at 16, which is insane. David Vinicius next, again 158 out of 200 potential ability on this particular save. This is variable. Vinicius, for example, in your save could be anywhere from 130 to 160. Standout attributes being stamina, marking, heading, anticipation and aggression, and already shows that he can be a fairly consistent performer. In at number 6, Robert Rennan, someone who we've signed in our Watford Wonderkids live stream save over on Twitch. He really is great and obviously will go to championship level teams because again we signed him in our Watford Wonderkids save. That's live on Twitch, twitch.tv/FMWONDERKIDS. Pick him up for around £10 million. Standout attributes here of anticipation and positioning, and reports suggest he's a very consistent performer. He's got a consistency attribute here of 18 out of 20, which is obviously great. In at number 5, Maxime Esteve. This 20-year-old French player is a spirited personality centre-back with standout attributes of being pace, which is hugely important, especially if you're playing a high line, strength, positioning, teamwork, anticipation and marking. Pick him up for around £12 million. He's a fairly consistent performer and could be fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country. £6 million will pick you up number 4 on our list. That is Jorginho Cittadini, or Cittadini, who knows. Standard attributes here of heading, determination, anticipation, positioning, jump in reach, fitness and acceleration. He's 6'2", might be susceptible to injuries though, so make sure you check this one out. In at number 3 is Jamie Vasquez. Has a potential ability of between 140 to 170. He can hit anywhere in that range on your particular save, and this save is 164, which is a beast. And get this, you can pick him up for 1.2 million quid. For some reason my scout doesn't rate him here. I think my scout is full of the proverbial dog doo-doo. When we look under the bonnet though, we do get an inkling as to why my scout doesn't fancy him too much. He says he's got poor technique, he says he's a slow player, has poor consistency, and could be fairly susceptible to injury. So make sure you do your homework on this guy if you're going to sign him in your save, because these are a few red flags here. In at number 2, Diego Coppola. Now, he will cost you around £20 million at the start of the game, but he's going to be world class. Again, a potential ability of between 140 and 170. On this particular save, again, we can see it's 164, which is huge. Standouts of heading, marking, tackling, jump in reach, concentration. I mean, he really is the ideal defender. Scout report tells us he's a consistent performer, good in the air, spirited individual, could adapt well when it comes to living in another country as well. Definitely sign this guy if you can. We have to put this guy in at number 1 though, because he's the best. Zeno de Bast is a balanced personality centre-back who's 18 years old, playing at Anderlecht, and is Belgian. He's got the same potential ability range as the last two guys, that is 140 to 170. In this particular save, we can see that it is 166, which is absolutely massive, obviously. Standout attributes of concentration, jump in reach, heading, marking, and passing. An asking price of £16.75 million that you can see on the middle/right of your screen here make him a must buy. Here's your list, guys. A few people that didn't make it on it, for example, is Kochap, because I just thought he was a bit too well known, and his asking price is like 40 million. And a couple of guys at the bottom here, Howard Bellis, for example, who's at Man City, and Van der Black, who could be a good shout but just didn't cut it for this video. Thomas Estevez. He's 20 years old, has great pace, stamina, agility, and acceleration, determination, and off the ball as well. He's available for just 5 million quid at the start of the game, which I personally think is an absolute steal. In at number 19 is Augustin Gaye. Similar asking price at the start of the game to Estevez, 5 million quid. And a similar type of player as well, to be fair. This guy majors in technique, decisions, agility, as well as natural fitness and pace, right? Those are two really important attributes for the position. In at 18 is Nathan. Obviously, he's a Brazilian with a name like that. This 20-year-old is great at dribbling already. First touch, free kick taking, tackling, and technique of 14. I mean, you've got so many great players on today's list. You could have put Nathan at the top. Look how, he's just got the right attributes, hasn't he? Pace, stamina, agility, acceleration, determination. What a guy. Nathan will cost you around £14 million at the start of the game, and underlying numbers suggest that he could be a fairly consistent performer for your team. Next, we got Amar Dedic. Around £10.5 million will pick you up this versatile right back, whose actual natural position is left back. Now, the reason we've got him on right back, as with all the videos in this series, and check out all the videos in the series, by the way, we have categorized by what position our scout says is their best position. Hope that's cleared that up. Determination 17 and pace of 16, though, make him a really good option. Next, we got Xavi. And it's not the Xavi. In fact, I don't think he's got any relation. No, it doesn't seem to be. But what he does seem to be is a very good, potentially world-class Spanish right back. Acceleration 14, agility 14, natural fitness 14, pace 14, decisions 14, tackling, you guessed it, 14. Reports suggest he's going to be a fairly consistent performer as well. And look how cheap he is, 800k. In at number 10, Emilio Lara. This 20-year-old Mexican right back, again, is more comfortable playing centre-back according to the positions here, but according to my scout, his best position is right back. Great positioning, great bravery, great tackling, great marking. He can cross the ball as well, and should be available for just £4.2 million. In at number 9, Ivan Fresneda. A difficult name to pronounce, but a very good prospect. This 17-year-old Spanish fullback has already got tackling of 16 in the save. That is insane. But not only that, he's got decisions of 16 as well. And not only that, you can pick him up for less than £1 million. Now, reports suggest he might have a problem with consistency, but I mean, that's a small price to pay for someone who's just like so good. Brooke Norton Cuffy. Another great name. He's playing for Arsenal, but on loan at Rotherham here on this save. I don't quite know if that's going to be the case at the start of the game because we are a couple of weeks in here because we've done a bit of scouting. He's a fully comfortable right back and right wing back. He's great physically, but still needs some growth in terms of mental and technically, right? Playing at a big club, so he'll cost you big money, but there he is. In at number 7, Alejandro Francis. He can play anywhere across the back line, and this Spanish 20-year-old balanced centre-back is very good at right back as well. Good mentals, good physicals, good technicals. Available for about 4 million quid, and check this, he's a fairly consistent performer. That's a good sign. In at number 6, Martin Fernandes. This 16-year-old Portuguese kid will cost you nothing at the start of the game. Well, not literally nothing. He'll cost you about 1 million quid. No real standout attributes at the moment, but a lot of 12s. Acceleration, natural fitness, pace, positioning, work rate, aggression, and dribbling in this particular save. And don't forget, attributes are variable from save to save, etc. But we have selected players who are in a decent potential range for this video, obviously. And at number 5 is Raul Walters, another Arsenal youngster. So he'll cost you about 15 million quid, but he's gonna be good, I promise you. Determination 14, acceleration 15, pace, agility, teamwork and work rate, his standout attributes, as well as his versatility across the back and even into midfield as well. Already a fairly consistent performer here with an attribute of 13 in terms of consistency. In at number 4, Enoch Mastros. Comfortable at right back, comfortable at centre back, but he is described as a fullback and he has a balanced personality. He's good at marking, he's good at determination, he's good at work rate, aggression and balance, all at just 16 years old. You can pick him up for about 8 million quid and he is going to be world class. In at number 3 is Wisdom Amy. Now the top 3 all have a potential ability range in Football Manager 2023 of between 140 and 170. And on this particular save, Wisdom Amy has come down at about 155, which is probably on the lower side you would expect, but still great attributes. Acceleration 14, natural fitness 15, pace 14, determination 14, aggression 15. He's going to be very, very good, mark my words, and can play anywhere defensively on the pitch. Good consistency. Pick him up for about £2.5 million. You won't regret it. Regret? You won't regret it. Brandon Soppy next. Pick up this versatile fullback for around 10 million quid at the start of the game because he's going to be world class. He's right footed, so you could play him as an orthodox right back or an inverted fullback on the left hand side. And check this again, you got it, consistent performer. In at number 1 is Jose Angel Carmona. Now you will be looking at splashing out about 20 million quid for this guy, but you're buying the best of the best most of the time across all different saves, right? Acceleration, agility, balance, pace, stamina, teamwork, work rate, concentration, bravery, aggression, anticipation, tackling, marking. He's even okay at long throws. Carmona here is 6 foot tall. He's a fairly consistent performer and we recommend him highly, although he might have a problem with injuries, which could be a slight twist in the tale. Guys, here's your list. First off is this 19-year-old Norwegian spirited personality attacking fullback, who I'm calling Matthias Forklift, just because I've got no chance in actually pronouncing that name. An asking price of £2.7 million at the start of the game and a potential ability in this particular save of 150. Standout attributes being determination, stamina, crossing, work rate and vision. An added bonus in this particular save is that he's hugely consistent, indicated here in his scout report by the dark green consistent performer icon. Again, different players can have different potentials and different stats from save to save, yada yada yada. Next up, Thomas Galvez, this Finnish 17-year-old fairly determined young fullback. Will set you back around £8 million. Currently playing for Manchester City. Standout attributes include determination, tackling, technique, work rate, natural fitness and acceleration. Again, in this particular save, he is a very consistent performer already at the young age of 19, was it? Which is obviously a good sign. Next, we've got this Brazilian 16-year-old determined and promising fullback named Esqueradinha. Has the potential to be one of the best young left backs in the game. His determination here is 20 out of 20. That is insane. Add to the fact that already at 15 years old, he's got 15 tackling out of 20, work rate 15 out of 20, and teamwork 15 out of 20. Pretty much a must sign for me. Not only has he got the potential to be one of the best left backs in your save, you'll also be able to pick him up for just £900,000 at the start of the game. Adrian Truffert will cost you around £12.5 million at the start of the game, and is another player who could have the potential in your save to be the best young left back in the game. He's a 20-year-old French player with a balanced personality. He's great already at crossing, pace, stamina, tackling, technique, teamwork, amongst other things. Looking into his scout report on this particular save, we can see he's already a fairly consistent performer, which is obviously a good sign. In at number 10 is Jarrell Hatto. He's a 16-year-old Dutch balanced personality centre-back. Now, if you haven't watched any of these videos in this series yet, and I encourage you to subscribe and watch the playlist, we categorise each player by my scout's opinion on their best position. So my scout's telling me that his best position is left back, so we're trusting in the scout. Pick him up for around 7.5 million. Here's his underlying kind of attributes. He's going to be great. In at number 9 is Tom Roth. Pick him up for about 8 million quid at the start of the game. He's a balanced personality fullback with standout attributes of crossing and tackling already at 17 years old, and natural fitness 17 here on the save. Reports already suggest that he's a consistent performer, so my question to you would be, why haven't you signed this guy yet? In at number 8, Prince Anning, another Borussia Dortmund player who plays in the same position as Roth, left back. Crossing, dribbling, technique, determination, flair, and acceleration and pace are this guy's standout attributes in this save. You can pick him up for slightly less than Roth, about 5 million quid, and look how consistent he is. In theory, with an 18 out of 20 consistency attribute. Hayden Roberts next, another centre-back who's very good at left-back. He's on loan from Brighton to Derby at the moment. In this particular save, that might not be how it works at the start of the game, because we have holidayed a couple of weeks into the future here to get our scout reports, but there shouldn't be too much movement from things like contracts, asking prices, and players, like what clubs they're at in those 2 weeks, hopefully, fingers crossed. With an asking price of about 24 million quid, it's quite expensive, so maybe someone you jot down, maybe pick him up a little bit later if he becomes available, especially if you're playing in England. English players are so valuable. Tayo Adamarola next. Contracted at Crystal Palace here and on loan at some club called RWDM. Available for around 10 million quid. Standout attributes of acceleration and pace are backed up with determination, flair, teamwork, long shots, and crossing. This 18-year-old Irish player has a balanced to normal personality, has England as his second nationality before I think it was Irish, and is a natural in a couple of positions. In at number 5 is Patrick Lanza. This 19-year-old Brazilian balanced personality left back will cost you around £9 million at the start of the game. Standout attributes of acceleration, pace, dribbling, flair, passing, technique are backed up with a fairly consistent performer attribute here on this save. In at number 4 is Moritz Markowski. Now, he's not actually natural at left back at all, but what he is great at is left wing back, right? So he's a bit of a wild card in this scenario. His determination on this save is 19. His potential ability is like 163, which is huge. But I couldn't find him on the editor. So let me know if you can find this guy in your saves, because there's a possibility he could be a regen, but he hasn't got a regen face. Available for around £925,000, so very, very cheap. He's got jumping reach of 17 as well. Reports suggest he's a very consistent performer, but for some reason my scouts don't rate him, even though he has a potential ability of 163. In at number 3 is Piero Hinkempie. He's very close to being in at number 1, but it's just the price that doesn't let him get top spot. He's about 30 million quid at the start of the game. Tackling, marking, passing though, all at 14, as well as anticipation, acceleration, and stamina actually at 15 make him like almost the best player on the list today. He's also a fairly consistent performer. If you can get hold of him, do it. In at number 2, Dado Guindo. About 10 million quid will pick you up this 19-year-old Malian balanced personality fullback at the start of the game. Contracted to Salzburg, out on loan here at St. Gallen. He's fast, good at defending, actually very good at defending already at 19. It does look like he needs to work on his consistency in this particular save anyway. In at number 1 is Jesus Vasquez, playing for Valencia here on the save. Pick him up for around £17 million, so not dirt cheap, but definitely potential to be one of the best prospects in your save, definitely is in mine. He's fast, got great positioning, and is already a very, very good defender. Guys, here's your complete list, complete with potential ability. You can see here, for example, Moritz Markowski, 163 as mentioned, and here's the consistency and star rating for whatever purpose you might need it for. There's the asking price in that column there. First, we got Leslie Akachaku. He'll set you back about 5 million quid at the start of the game, and he's a balanced personality, media description midfielder. What can he do? Well, he's aggressive, he's got good strength, and crucially, good long shots. Which is a similar story for number 19, Aitor Gillardo. Decisions 15, marking 15, tackling 14, stamina 15, and long shots 13 from this 20-year-old Spanish midfielder who'll only set you back 6 million quid. Now, when we look under the bonnet a little bit, he is fairly susceptible to injuries in this particular save, but could definitely go on to be world class. In at number 18 is Oscar Fraulo. Now, this 18-year-old Danish versatile player will set you back just 3 million quid at the start of the game, and that will be money well spent, mark my words. He's described as a balanced personality midfielder here by the media. Standout attributes include natural fitness, great vision, flair, determination, composure and aggression, as well as technique, passing, long shots and good first touch. Manu Bueno, the 18-year-old Spanish defensive centre midfielder, will cost you less than 1 million quid, and he's going to be really, really good. So he's only 18 at the start of the game here, and he hasn't got too many things to write home about, but the attributes he does have are like 14s already here in this save. Vision, off the ball, passing, and first touch, right? Eric Martal makes it in at number 16, and this German 20-year-old really is very good already. Great physicals, great mentals, and great technicals, right? I mean, he's got 16 determination, he's got pace 14, stamina 14, strength 14. And when we look at his scout reports, it gets even better. He's a fairly consistent performer. Now, granted, all these attributes can be variable from save to save, right? And Martal himself does have a potential ability range from 130 to 160, with 150 in the middle there being the cutoff point for that media description of Wonderkid, so we expect him to be great in most saves. Next we got Noel Aseko, available for around £9 million from Bayern Munich under-19s of all places. He has got some really interesting attributes. I mean, determination 17, anybody? Again, a fairly consistent performer, coming up here in the underlying scouted hidden attribute section, and displays a fairly determined attitude. It's just what you want. Andre Santos next, someone who we managed to sign in our Watford Wonderkids stream save over on Twitch, twitch.tv/FMWKDS, even though he didn't want to come to our team. So available for championship teams, let's say, and like great attributes straight off the bat. Look at all these 13s. Work rate, vision, teamwork, positioning. Flair 15. There's a lot of centre midfielders with like good flair in this game. Technique 14, marking 14. Get him for around 7 million, and trust me, you won't be disappointed. In at number 13, Bernat Torrentes. I hope I got that pronunciation right. Described by the media here creatively as a defensive midfielder, and his personality is described as balanced. What he does have is some really standout attributes in good places. Aggression, check, 15. Positioning, check, 15. Tackling, check, 15. Passing, check, 15. Balance and technique, 15, of course. The only downside, he'll set you back about 15 million quid. You can pick Adam Wharton up for around 7 million quid from Blackburn, and he's going to be a really, really good defensive midfielder for England in the future. I guarantee it. Technique, vision, first touch, natural fitness. I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say he's the next Declan Rice. Reports wise, we can see he's a fairly loyal person, is adept at using either foot, but no real standouts in terms of consistency. Maximo Perrone can be picked up for around 4 million quid, and look how good his mentals are. Work rate 12, vision 13, teamwork 13, positioning 12, off the ball 12, leadership 12, flair 13, determination 12, decisions 13, concentration 13, composure 13, bravery 13, anticipation 13, aggression 12. Add to that huge green, fairly consistent performer attribute, and you've got yourself such a good signing. In at number 10 is Giacomo Fatasianti. I can't say it. I'm sorry, guys. I can't say it. This guy is an 18-year-old Italian, and he's got 17 aggression. He's got determination 18. He's going to be blooming amazing, and that's not the best bit. You can get him for about 1 million quid. Consistent performer in the underlying stats there. I mean, why are people just not signing this guy? Everybody should be signing him. Mackenzie Carson next. He's actually on loan at Dundee here in this save from Celtic. I'm not sure if that's the case at the very start of the game because we are 2 weeks in here, but it probably is the case. He's got great stats, right? Tackling 14, long shots 14, determination 16, decisions 14, aggression 14, etc. But what really stands out in this particular save anyway is his consistency. He's got 20 out of 20 in terms of consistency. That is huge. He's available for around 10 million quid. Let me know down below if you signed this guy and is he any good. Noah Mbamba next. The 17-year-old Belgian defensive midfielder looks on the face of it like he'd be quite a good centre-back. 6'2", great physicals, good defensive attributes, balanced personality, and described by the media very boringly as a defensive midfielder. Again, available at the start of the game for around the £10 million mark. He's going to be great, but I'm just struggling to get excited about this guy. Maybe it's because they're all defensive midfielders, right? In at number 7, Romeo Lavia. He'll cost a pretty penny, right? He's playing at Southampton, so potentially not a hidden gem for some of you guys, but could be for others, right? He's an 18-year-old Belgian player, and his stats are phenomenal. Determination 16, aggression 15, anticipation 15. I mean, I just didn't realise how young this guy was and how good he is at this age. Add to that the consistency as well, and my word, this player is good. I'm sure in 10 years' time in the game, you'll see this guy at the Real Madrids, at the Liverpools of this world, right? Dario Asugu next. This 17-year-old player will cost you around 6 million quid at the start of the game, right? A little bit more affordable. Standout attributes of anticipation, composure, determination, teamwork, natural fitness and balance make this guy one to watch. No real standouts in terms of underlying / hidden attributes, but we think he's going to be great. In at number 5 is Eugene Pizzuto. This 20-year-old Mexican player has the stats that you want for this position. Tackling, passing, first touch, vision and work rate, decisions, determination, anticipation, acceleration, agility, all around 13/14. Pick him up for absolute pennies, I think under £1 million at the start of the game, and look how consistent he is in this particular game, right? I think his attribute for consistency here is 16 out of 20. That's massive. In at number 4, Lucas Gorner Douth. Such good attributes here at such a young age. This 19-year-old fella is gonna be an international player for France, and he's gonna win the World Cup. There, I said it. Physicals through the roof, mentals through the roof, and his technique isn't bad either. No real standouts in the underlying side of things, but a price tag of around 11 million quid is such a good deal. £11 million. Sclavini next. This 18-year-old Italian has got it where it counts in terms of being a good potential defensive midfielder. He's actually most comfortable at centre-back according to the positions graph here on the left, but my scout tells me that his best position is defensive midfielder, and that's how we categorize people on this series. Marking 14, tackling 14, heading 13. Look at that determination of 16, concentration, anticipation, teamwork, natural fitness, jump and reach. Oh my god, he's good. 6'4" as well. Consistent performer. Yeah, he's good. In at number 2, and Sclavini nearly made it into number 2, is Rafael Luiz. Again, 6 foot plus. Good, insane natural fitness. Only 17 years old. Determination 15. Flair 14 already here on this save. Personality, model citizen. So important to have good personalities. Hugely consistent performer as well. And get this, available for just £1.8 million. In at number 1 though is one of the best wonder kids on the game, and that is Warren Zaire-Emery. Just popped up this year in Football Manager as far as I know. The 16-year-old player is playing for Paris Saint-Germain, so will cost you about 30 million quid, right? But my word, is his potential good. He has the highest potential range of any wonder kid defensive midfielder in the game. That is 160 to 190 out of 200. So there's a potential for him being so good in your save. Looking at our reports, there's nothing that really stands out in terms of being consistent or having a problem with injuries. But like I said, he's just got such a huge potential in the game across multiple saves. Here's the list. Thank you for watching. Feel free to pause the video, write them down. Michael Golding is a 16-year-old Chelsea player who could go on to be world class in Football Manager. You can pick him up for just £3.8 million at the start of the game. That's if he wants to come to your club. And in this particular save has a standout attribute of flair, which is hugely surprising for the kind of position that he plays. And what's even more surprising with Michael Golding is when you look under the bonnet, his consistency attribute is 18 out of 20, which gives us this dark green pro here and tells us he's a consistent performer. Of course, caveat, these attributes can be variable from save to save. Eugenio Pizzuto, the 20-year-old Mexican midfield center wonderkid. This guy's great at tackling, great at passing, great at determination. I mean, he's the ideal centre midfielder / defensive centre midfielder. Agility and acceleration as well. And again, looking under the bonnet, look at that consistent performer attribute. Big dark green. Again, it's 18 out of 20. You couldn't ask for much more. In at number 18 is Jonathan Asp Jensen. This 16-year-old Danish, light-hearted and promising midfielder has surprisingly good attributes for his age. Corners, 13. Dribbling, 13. First touch, 13, passing 13, technique 14, determination and flair both 14 or above, as well as natural fitness. Again, looking underneath the bonnet, we can see he's a fairly consistent performer and could adapt well when it comes to living in another country. Might cost you around 10 million quid though, because he is playing for Bayern Munich. In at number 17, João Neves, £4.3 million can pick you up this Portuguese 17-year-old resolute midfielder. His mentals really stand out for me straight away. Determination 16, again flair 14 and bravery 14. Why are these centre midfielders like so good at being flair players? It's just odd. Underneath the bonnet tells us again a fairly consistent performer and displays resolute characteristics. Will Alves plays for Leicester. He's valued at £15 million in terms of asking price. That's how much money you're going to have to spend to get this guy. And he's got really good attributes. He's comfortable at midfield centre and attacking midfield centre. He's got dribbling 14 and technique 14, as well as flair 16. Of course, everyone, like, why has everybody got flair in this video? But I suppose with aggression 14 as well, that does kind of mould him into, or it could mould him into, a really good centre midfielder. Marc Cucurella next, the 17-year-old Spanish centre midfielder, is playing for the Real Madrid B team. Again, very good at consistency, which we'll see a little bit later on, but first touch and passing are two of his standout attributes. Now that goes along with technique, aggression again, decisions again, determination, and you guessed it, flair. He's got great vision. Is available for so cheap, it would blow your mind, like 500k. It's a fairly consistent performer already. I don't know why you wouldn't get this guy. Potentially he wouldn't want to come to everybody because he's already playing for Real Madrid, but my god, he's going to be good. In at number 14 is Guilherme Santos. This 17-year-old Portuguese, fairly professional, promising midfielder is going to be good. Standard attributes of technique, flair and balance, with an asking price of around 2 million quid and a fairly consistent performer attribute here on the scout report. Yes, please. Staying in Portugal, staying in Sporting Lisbon, Samuel Justo. Again, another young midfielder described by the media as a balanced personality. Triple entente of decisions, determination and flair at 13. Add to that aggression, add to that acceleration, add to that agility, pace, passing, technique and first touch. And long shots, by the way. You got yourself a doozy. Fairly consistent in terms of his performances, but look out, could be fairly susceptible to injuries too. In at number 12, I think we're on number 12 now, Daniel Gore. He's playing for Manchester United. He's a 17-year-old player, so you're going to be talking like a little bit of money here, probably about £10 million, but he's going to be very good in the future. 15 aggression. He's got teamwork, vision, technique, passing, first touch and agility, but the real standout here is natural fitness. He's a fairly consistent performer, and you'd expect that, right, for the type of money you'd have to pay to get this guy. Talk about paying money. Skudakov will cost you a lot, about 40 million quid, right? So he's kind of off the menu probably for a lot of you, but I just wanted to include him because he is I didn't want to just get rid of him just because he costs money. He is a great hidden gem. Great passing, teamwork, vision, pace and stamina, all 14 or above, and he's so consistent in this particular save. It would be a travesty not to include him. In at number 10, Archie Gray, £17 million. You can pick up the Leeds United under 18 spirited young midfielder for standard attributes of first touch, passing, technique, aggression, teamwork, vision and balance here in this particular save make him one to watch. At number 9, Victor Alutu, someone who you can pick up for around 3 million quid from AC Milan. The 17-year-old Nigerian player has the standout attribute of natural fitness. It's 16 out of 20 here. When we look underneath the bonnet, we can see fairly consistent performer. This attribute is about 14 out of 20. The darker green it gets, the closer to 20 it gets. And I know for a fact this one is 14 in this particular save. Get this guy, he's going to be good. In at number 8, Luka Sucic. This guy will cost you a couple of pennies, I mean around 12 million quid. But the 19-year-old Croatian is going to be very, very good. He's already had 3 caps for his country, actually, so arguably not quite as hidden as some of the gems we have on today's show. He's fast, 15 acceleration and 15 pace. He's got great movement off the ball. That is 14 out of 20, and his technique and dribbling is very, very good already at 19. Beware though, he might have a problem with injuries. He certainly does in this particular save. In at number 7, we are back at Sporting Lisbon with Mateus Fernandes. What is this guy good at? Well, he's good at dribbling. He's got great natural fitness. He's determined. He's aggressive. And he's got good technique. No real standouts when it comes to the underlying hidden attributes, and will be available for around £6 million. Staying in Portugal, this time at Benfica, we got Tiago Freitas. This 16-year-old young centre midfielder with a balanced personality does have a lot of growing to do, but he has that flair attribute that we spoke about so much in this video. 15 out of 20 here in this particular save, and he has natural fitness. A mere 600k for the compensation will get this guy into your team straight away, and we can see already he is a fairly consistent performer. In at number 5, Charlie Patino. He's on loan at Blackpool in this particular save. Whether that is the case at the start of the game, I don't know off the top of my head. We are about 2 weeks in here because we scouted some of the players. So some of the contract information or asking prices may be incorrect at the very start of the game, but they're probably right. Dribbling 14, first touch 14, passing 14. He's absolutely insane already at 18. Technique 18, teamwork 15, off the ball 14, composure 15, balance 15. A £24 million asking price. He's a fairly consistent performer. I would sign him at any cost, especially if you are playing in England. In at number 4, João Veloso, someone who I feel like we've spoken about already. Maybe we did it in the previous video. Great vision, great determination, good natural fitness here from this light-hearted, promising midfielder. He's very cheap. You can pick him up for about £1 million, and he is a fairly consistent performer already in this particular save anyway. In at number 3, Desire Doe. He's got a potential ability range up to 180 out of 200, which is massive. And you can see here in this save, the 17-year-old French, fairly determined centre midfielder has got great attributes. Dribbling, first touch, technique, vision, flair, determination, agility. He's going to be very, very good. Pick him up for around 18 million at the start of the game. He displays a fairly determined attitude according to my scout. He's going to be good. Now, pick him in the top 2 was hard, but in the number 2 we've gone Fabio Moretti. Both of these guys will cost you about 30 million quid, so you're not talking cheap as chips, but you're talking very, 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 very like good, world class. Moretti is 19 years old. Standout attributes of first touch, dribbling, determination, anticipation. Just look how good he is mentally. Balance, agility, and stamina as well on the physical side of things. A perfectionist personality. He's a fairly consistent performer, and he's going to be good. It's going to be great. In at number 1, then we've gone for Cesar Casedi, 19-year-old Italian centre midfielder who's just made his way to Chelsea and is in the under-21s. Finishing 14, first touch 13, heading 15 in this particular save. Anticipation 14. Again, the potential ability range goes up to 180 for this guy. He's 6'1". He's got good jumping reach as well, which is probably one of the main reasons why we put him ahead of Moretti, who only has a jumping reach of 8. Again, fairly consistent performer, a professional individual, and huge potential. Guys, here's your shortlist. Feel free to write it down, hit pause. Do hit subscribe though while you're down there. This 18-year-old Colombian has an asking price of around £1.8 million at the start of the game, has a balanced personality, and is described by the media here as an attacking midfielder. He's got great first touch, brilliant technique, as well as flair, strength, and natural fitness. His potential ability in this current save is 150, just on the borderline to becoming a wonder kid. But we do see a couple of red flags when we look under the bonnet in terms of consistency and injury proneness. In at number 19 is Cesar Palacios. Another player who in this save has a potential ability of 150, and again this 17-year-old Spanish attacking midfielder has a balanced personality and a media description here of attacking midfielder. Available for around the £2 million mark, and he's playing for Real Madrid at the B team. His technique is 14, his first touch is 14 already at this young age, his flair is 15, and his acceleration is 14 as well. In at number 18, Florent da Silva, available for around £3 million at the start of the game. Comfortable playing centre midfield, comfortable playing attacking centre midfield as well. The 19-year-old Frenchman has a fairly determined personality and again is described as an attacking midfielder by the media. Really good attributes here: corners, crossing, first touch, passing, technique, natural fitness, good mentality, determination and flair as well. And when we look under the bonnet, we can see he's got a fairly consistent performer attribute here, which is great, and he's fairly adaptable as well when it comes to living in another country. Next we got Alex Scott, one of the most exciting young English players in the game this year. He's 19 years old, playing at Bristol City. You can pick him up for around 10 million quid and he's really good. Great mentals already at 19, pretty decent physically and technically as well, fairly loyal in terms of personality and described again as an attacking midfielder. No real standout pros or cons when we look at our scout report, but my scout is telling me he's like an A star or an A- signing here for my Brentford team. Next we got Theo, a French 20-year-old balanced personality midfielder who you can pick up for around 3 million quid from the Real Madrid B team. Really good technically and mentality as well, like flair 16 is really good at this age, vision 14, jumping reach 15, natural fitness 14 as well. Amazing flair, amazing vision, amazing technique. I'm sure he's going to flourish into a really good attacking midfielder. Looking under the bonnet on this particular save, he still needs to do some work in terms of consistency, but does have no problem adapting when it comes to living in another country. And our genie in the bottle at number 15 is Brandon Aguilera. This Costa Rican 19-year-old has a balanced personality and again is described as an attacking midfielder. Can play on the right side as well as really comfortable at the centre of the park. Potentially, personally, I probably wouldn't play him on the wings because of the lack of pace. No real massive pros or cons really when it comes to the scouting report. And with a height of 5'6", I'd probably avoid playing him in the middle of the park as well, but let me know down below. What would you do? Stanis Idumbo Mazumbo is mobile. His agility is 15 on his... Can't believe I did that. Mazumbo mobile, right? Get it? He's an attacking midfielder naturally. He's got a resolute personality and is described as an attacking midfielder. This 17-year-old Belgian player could go on to be absolutely insane in Football Manager. He's a fairly consistent performer already at that young age, but does have a fairly susceptibleness to injuries as well. It's definitely something worth checking out before you shell the 8.25 million that you'd be expected to pay to get Mazumbo mobile into your team. In at number 13 is Brazia, and what I love about Brazia is the fact he's got long shot 16 in this save, right? It's a great attribute to have when you're playing in that position of the pitch because obviously you're going to be in the right position to be taking shots from outside the box. He's also got flair of 15, technique of 12, natural fitness of 15, etc. Pick him up for around 5 million quid, but he is fairly susceptible to injuries in this save and should have a bit more consistency, really, hopefully. Abdul Outara is a balanced personality, 16-year-old Ivorian, balanced, promising attacking midfielder. 15 decisions already, which is an excellent attribute to have in this position. 15 technique and 15 dribbling as well. You'll pick him up for absolute pennies at the start of the game, probably about £1 million. And look how consistent he is. Look at that. He's got 15 out of 20 in his consistency attribute on this save. And again, that is variable, but is good. Anthony Malambo next, and this Dutch 17-year-old wonderkid is available for around 6 million quid at the start of the game. I love the fact he's got passing 16, right, because that's a crucial stat to have in that position, obviously. He's also got flair 15, first touch 14, and work rate of 15 as well, which potentially, for me, means you could probably experiment with playing him a little bit further back on the pitch. Reports-wise, fairly consistent performer, which is very good, and is an A signing for my Brentford team here. In at number 10 is Luke Harris. This 17-year-old Welsh wonder kid is fairly determined and is described by the media, rather boringly again, as an attacking midfielder. But what's he good at? Well, he's good at finishing already at the age of 17. He's good at long shots here in this particular save anyway. He's got great decisions, which again, as we said, is crucial, and he's good at accelerating. Plays for Fulham, might cost you upwards of 10 million quid though at the start of the game. So that's something to consider. In at number 9 is Nikola Ilyev. This 18-year-old Bulgarian wonder kid will cost you just a couple of £1 million at the start of the game and should turn out to be world class. Already dribbling of 14 and technique of 14, as well as all the other attributes where you would kind of expect them to be with someone who plays this position and has this potential, and also is a fairly consistent performer already at this young age. In at number 8, Pablo Torre. He has a potential ability of 158 on this particular save, and my word, look how good this Spanish 19-year-old player already looks. Now, there's an argument to say that Rhys potentially he isn't a hidden gem because he plays for Barcelona, but he's only played one appearance for Barcelona, right? According to Football Manager, he's playing at Santander before that, where, to be fair, he did make 31 appearances and the season before 24 appearances, scoring 4 goals and 10 goals. Yeah, what's great about Toure, apart from the fact that he's got like amazing stats here in this particular save anyway, he'll only cost you about £5 million at the start of the game, which is insanely good value. He's a fairly consistent performer. The only problem is maybe he won't want to come to your club, right? Because he's already playing at Barcelona. Good luck. Let me know if you sign this player. Marko Birkja next. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce it. I mean, he's an 18-year-old Croatian, again with a balanced personality and a media description of attacking midfielder. What is he good at? Well, he's very agile and he's got great natural fitness. Not two attributes which always go hand in hand, but definitely two which will complement each other, right? He's also a flair player who's going to have great technique and dribbling ability. With all that natural fitness comes a very consistent performer attribute here. In fact, if I quickly show you his attribute for consistency, it's 20 out of 20. Pick him up for around £2 million. Bargain. Lazar Smardich is the only player in the list today that has a fixed potential ability. And that fixed potential ability is 163 out of 200. So not too bad, right? We can see dribbling first touch already at 15, which is insane, and passing and technique 15, right? So you can see that he's going to be really good. He's 20 years old already, described as a fairly ambitious attacking midfielder, and is already showing signs of being a fairly consistent performer. But look out, could also be fairly susceptible to injuries. About £19 million you'll get this guy for up front at the start of the game. In at number 5 is Vasco Souza, the 19-year-old Portuguese wonder kid with a balanced personality, again described as an attacking midfielder, has great dribbling, first touch, passing and technique again, but also has a monster mentality. Flair 16, determination here 14, composure and decisions 13, vision 15, and he's not too bad in terms of physical either. Rated as an A signing here for my Brentford team. Would likely encounter problems adapting when it comes to living in another country and would be available for around £10 million. Next we got Reina. This Brazilian wonder kid seems to have been around for ages, but he still is popping up. Dribbling, finishing, first touch, passing, technique. He's going to be insane, right? I'm sure he's been like developing into a world-class player for the past 2 or 3 Football Manager games. Reports-wise, fairly consistent performer already, balanced to normal personality, but he'll cost you a pretty penny, £46 million asking price at the start of the game. And he's playing for Real Madrid and he's out on loan, right? So probably not someone who you're going to go for straight away. Keep an eye on him for later on. In at number 3, Takahiro Naki, someone who we've managed to sign for our Watford Wonderkids team. That's live on Twitch, twitch.tv/FMWKDS. And he's very good. Again, a Real Madrid B team player, dribbling 15, first touch 14 here, passing 14, technique 15, flair, determination, natural fitness, all in the green. Pick him up for around £10 million. I mean, our Watford team put most of that on installments. He's a fairly consistent performer, but could have a problem with injuries. I mean, for some players, you'll take that, right? In at number 2 is Luis Guilherme. This left-footed, balanced personality, promising attacking midfielder has a potential ability on this save of 180. Now, that is right at the top of his range. He might be a little bit worse in your save, but he definitely isn't going to be better, right? He's only 16, so his attributes do need a little bit of work, to say the least, but he's really versatile, he's really fast, and again, has huge potential. Pick him up for around £6 million at the start of the game, and you've got yourself a potential worldie. In at number 1 today, another player that we've signed for Watford Wonderkids over on Twitch, it's Julian Jean Guerrero. Potential ability in this save of around 166, and I believe he's got the same range as Guilherme, who we just spoke about, right? So could hit 180 in your saves, and he really does perform straight away. Dribbling 14, finishing 13, first touch 13, free kick taking 14 at 18 years old, passing 14, technique 13, vision 15, flair 16, decisions 14, bravery 14, natural fitness 15. He's left-footed. He's an attacking midfielder with a balanced personality according to the media, and look at this, very consistent performer. His attribute for consistency in this particular save is 18. That's the highest of anybody on this list. Pick him up for around 8 million quid at the start of the game. This is your entire list, complete with potential ability, asking price, and the key underlying hidden attributes. Yasser Asprilla down at Watford. Now I appreciate he might not be a hidden gem because there might be some Watford fans or championship watchers or just general people who are clued up on football watching this. But he's an 18-year-old Colombian attacking midfielder who can play right, left, centrally, and incidentally, we've signed him. And incidentally, he's playing for our Watford Wonderkids team live on Twitch. twitch.tv/FMWKDS, where he has been doing really, really well. My scout tells me he's a fairly consistent performer, has a balanced to normal personality, and you can pick him up for around 10 million quid. Now, with monthly installments, that's going to cost you nothing at the start of the game. Get hold of Yasser Asprilla, he's going to be class. Next, we got Ben Doak, the 16-year-old Scottish wonderkid. He's actually got a potential ability in this save of 180, which is absolutely massive. Already here he's got acceleration, natural fitness, pace, determination, dribbling, passing, and technique at the tender age of 16. Fairly consistent performer, a natural in a couple of positions, and is available, well, for a pretty penny, between 25 and 30 million quid, right? So he's playing for Liverpool under 19s, a little bit unachievable. Let's see who we got next. Rodrigo Gomez will cost you about 2 million at the start of the game. He's got great potential ability here in this particular save, but don't forget this potential ability thing is variable from save to save. Some wonder kids might be great in one save and not so good in the other. He's a 19-year-old balanced winger who gets forward whenever possible and likes using the outside of his right foot. He's so fast here, acceleration and pace both 15. He's your archetypal winger, right? Determination and flair, anticipation and aggression. Reports wise, a balanced to normal personality underpins his really good underlying stats, and his transfer value, like I said, is just peanuts. Next, you got Badarini Bouani, an attacking midfield right French 17-year-old promising winger with great potential here in this particular save, and I'm sure the same in yours as well. Acceleration, agility, pace, flair, passing, first touch, and dribbling. His fortes here. Available for about 1 million quid, right? Up front is like insane value. A couple of worries here. Again, these attributes are variable, but could be fairly susceptible to injuries. Should be looking to add greater consistency to his game. Next, Ansgnar Knuf, right? A great name and a great amount of versatility from this guy. You can play right wing, right back, centre forward, attacking midfield centre. He's got great potential ability in this save, and he's got great current ability as well. So he's one of these, because he's 20 years old basically, he's a little bit older than the guys who we've spoken about previously. He's had that bit longer to develop his attributes, and thus you're getting a more well-rounded, more ready-to-go player. A fairly determined winger, he likes to knock the ball past opponents here, etc. in the save, and crucially he's a fairly consistent performer already, and an A+ signing here for my Brentford team, for example. 15 million quidish will cost you at the start of the game. Katie Gordon next, the 17-year-old English player playing for Liverpool under 21s. Again, will cost you a pretty penny because of that prestige, about 15 to 16 million pounds. But he has the potential to be very, very good. Acceleration, pace, agility, determination, flair, dribbling, first touch, and technique shows the kind of player you're going to be getting. Is a technical, fast, attacking midfielder. A couple of red flags on the underlying stats. He should be looking to add greater consistency to his game and is currently out with a long-term injury. The fact that he's currently out with a long-term injury is a bit of a red flag, and he also looks like he should be adding greater consistency to his game as well. But Katie Gordon, definitely one for the future. Malamine Efakili next, and I know I've butchered that name, so let me know in the comments if you can do any better. He's a right midfielder, likes to use his right foot as well, described as an orthodox winger by the media. Great first touch here in the save 15, great aggression as well, which is something I always like to see. He's 17 years old. He's got a balanced to normal personality and will only cost you around 5 million quid. that is definitely something worth taking advantage of. Giovanni next, huge potential here in this save for this 18-year-old Brazilian beast, described again as a winger by the media. This time he's a left-footed winger who's most comfortable on the right-hand side. And don't forget, I've categorized all the players in this series by my scouts' opinion on their best position, so we shouldn't get too much overlap on the right midfielders video and the left midfielders video, for example. Great technique, great passing, first touch and dribbling as well. Nothing really standing out in terms of pros or cons after the scout report has been gone through, and he will cost you around £13 million, which after monthly instalments could be nothing almost. In fact, you should be able to get him for £6 million all told. Staying in Brazil then, we've got the 17-year-old balanced right winger with a strong left foot, Angelo. Highly recommended this year by a lot of people, and you can see why. He's got great potential in terms of attributes here on this particular save: acceleration, agility, natural fitness, pace, strength, flair, concentration, anticipation, dribbling, technique. He's got the lot. Reports wise, already at 17 he's a fairly consistent performer. That is not to be overlooked. Again, these attributes are variable, but I would suggest that is definitely a good sign. In at number 1 then is Marquinhos, a 19-year-old Brazilian with pace of 16 here in this save and acceleration of 15. Another left-footed right midfielder. Flair 14, determination 13, technique 14, dribbling 14. He's going to be an absolute beast. Highly recommended by us. Will cost a pretty penny. He's playing at Arsenal at the moment here in this save of an asking price of around £26 million. Balanced to normal personality, can play in a couple of positions, possesses great pace, and his top speed allows him to outpace players over longer sprints. Here is your entire shortlist for the attacking midfield right position. Bonus shout outs go to the 15-year-old Ryan, who in this save doesn't quite hit the Wonderkids potential ability range. He's got 141 potential ability, but I'm sure he's going to be class anyway and could be even better in your saves. Check this guy out. About £4 million is the asking price for this one. And Jaden Adai, right, 16-year-old Dutch player, again doesn't quite hit the potential ability here in this particular save, but has done in other tests that we've done. And look at these numbers: dribbling 15, finishing 15, first touch 15, balance 15, etc. Feel free, screenshot it, write it down. If you want to download it, consider hitting the join button just below this video if you've subscribed. I think it's there, or is it there if you haven't subscribed? Please hit subscribe though. Anyway, if you want to head on over to Patreon, you get this download plus every single download we've ever done, plus more Andreas Schledrolop. So please hit like, please hit subscribe, because I've tried my best to pronounce that one. But in all seriousness, Andreas Schledrolop, or however you say it, is literally one of the best attacker midfield left prospects in the game, let alone hidden gems, right? You might have heard of him already if you're into the Football Manager scene. If you're not, you probably haven't. He's a resolute winger, an 18-year-old Norwegian. He's got great first touch and dribbling, anticipation off the ball already in this save. And don't forget, different saves can be different, etc. But generally, we have seen this guy be class on most people's saves. Looking under the bonnet, we can see that he's fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country, can play in a couple of positions, and should be available for around £5 million. Next, we got Henrique Pereira, a left midfielder with a resolute personality who's right-footed. He's 20 years old already here in this save. Well, in your save as well, I'd assume. And his standout attributes here are acceleration, pace, natural fitness, dribbling, determination, and of course flair. In terms of scout reports, we can see he's already at 20 a fairly consistent performer and is fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country. A really, really good signing that you could pick up for probably about £1 million at the start of the game. Alberto Moliero next, a balanced personality attacking midfielder who's 18 years old. Now the media here have described him as an attacking midfielder, but my scout in this particular save says his best position is attacking midfield left. Crucially, that's how we're categorizing each position in this video series. Dribbling 15 already, technique 16, flair 15, a really good attacking midfielder. Obviously, you can see his acceleration and pace leave a little bit to be desired, which is probably why he gets that media description of attacking midfielder, and probably why I would prefer to play him in the 10 role. In terms of reports, we can see balanced normal personality, fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country, and again, would cost you less than £5 million at the start of the game. Next, we got Tobias Gulkesson, one of the set of brilliant young Norwegian players we got in the game this year. Can play centre midfield, but crucially, again, my scout reckons his best position is attacking midfield left. He's agile, got great stamina, huge determination, as you would expect, probably from the Nordic part of the world. Got dribbling, first touch, technique. Nothing really to stand out at the moment, but don't forget he's only 19 years old. He's not 13. There's no 13-year-olds in the game. Consistency, spirited individual. Look how dark green that consistency is already at the age of 19. That is something to write home about. And look at the transfer value. You'll get him for between 170k and 1.7 million, an absolute must buy. Sergei Pinyev next, a balanced winger who can play on the left wing. Of course, he's right-footed. His standard attributes here in this particular save: agility, acceleration, natural fitness, as well as dribbling and flair. Really low work rate here. That could obviously be variable in your save, but when we look under the bonnet, we can see he's a fairly consistent performer, which is obviously good. Again, around 5 million quid to pick up this guy. He's got huge potential. Now, João Rego, the 17-year-old Portuguese balanced young winger, is hugely versatile. He can play left wing, right wing, centre midfield, attacking centre midfield, and up front. His attributes here in this save leave a little bit to be desired, but you would hope, being only 17, he is going to improve hugely given the right circumstances. And again, at the age of 17, to have a fairly consistent performer attribute here on the scout report is a hugely beneficial thing to have. Look how cheap he is. 145k to 1.5 million. That's very, very good. Ernst Poku next, 10.5 million. You'll pick up this guy. I picked him up in my Watford Wonderkids save, which we got live on Twitch. www.twitch.tv/FMWKDS if you want to join in the live streams there. Again, leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of technicality and mentality at this young age of 18, but what he has got is explosive pace, and crucially, he can use either foot. That is not to be underestimated. Nothing really stands out in terms of his underlying stats, but we can see that he needs to work further on his development in terms of being a consistent player. That is something hopefully he could get good at, and again, it's a variable attribute. Lauren Ulrich next, no relation to the drummer from Metallica, Lars Ulrich, although he has got some absolutely heavy metal stats. He can play centre midfield, attacking midfield, left midfield. He's flair, he's got dribbling, and he has got great technique. Look how versatile he is. That is insane. Scout reports tell us you'll pick him up for under 3 million quid, and he's fairly consistent already. Definitely one to watch. Thales Magno next, one of the standout Wonderkids in Football Manager 2023, although in this save his potential ability is only 148, and you have to have 150 or above to become a Wonderkid in that media description. But obviously, look how good he is already at the age of 20. He's Brazilian, not capped yet, but that will change, I'm sure, in the future. Good technique, as you would expect. Good dribbling, good flair, and great in terms of physicality as well. Scout reports tell us he's already a fairly consistent performer and a spirited individual, and he'll cost you about 10 million quid. Next, we got Bradley Barcoa, the 19-year-old kid who has got good acceleration and good pace. He's a balanced winger here, according to the media, and here's what it says on the tin, right? You can play right midfield, left midfield, you can play up front. He's fast and he's cheap. 5 million tops you're going to get this guy for. Again, consistent performer already at this young age. That is a great sign. And look at the bottom right hand corner here. In terms of the Brentford team that I'm scouting with here, he's going to be the best of the best. Ryan Cherky next. Potentially you've heard of this guy before if you've been playing Football Manager for any period of time, but we did decide to include him on the Hidden Gem list just because it's my list and I'll put it on there whoever I want. Left winger, can play centrally, can play on the right, can play in centre midfield, can play up front, so hugely versatile. Had huge potential in the last game, similar in this game as well, maybe not as huge in terms of potential in the last game, if that makes any sense at all. Great dribbling, great flair, great agility as well. Under the bonnet, nothing really stands out, good or bad, and you'll pick him up for about 10 million quid, which is definitely worth it for someone with like those stats at the moment and that potential. Gianluca Prestiani next. Look how well-rounded this guy is. I'd suggest maybe playing him or training him in the centre of the midfield here, although he is best position according to my scouts on the left. He can also play naturally on the right and in centre of the attacking midfield position. 16 years old. Such a young kid and such great attributes for that age already. What a guy. 7 million quid tops you'll pick this guy up for. It's a bargain. Sergio Arribas next, a 20-year-old Real Madrid B team player who's left-footed and a fairly determined winger, has got excellent attributes. He's already fast, got good flair and excellent determination in this save. good crossing and good dribbling, as well as like a good corner taker, right, and good free kick taker. At this young, well, at the age of 20, or the age of anything, it's always worth having good corner takers in your team, and he's a left-footed one as well, so take note of that. Reports-wise, again, nothing really stands out in terms of good or in terms of bad, but he will cost you a pretty penny, somewhere between 17 and 20 million. Gabriel Veron, the 19-year-old Brazilian playing for Porto, has got what it takes to become a world-class winger. He's right-footed. Ideally, he likes to play on the left, but he's equally suited to the right and can play pretty much any position in the front of the pitch. Should be fairly susceptible to injuries, according to my scout, and will cost you about 7 million quid, but he's an A+ sign-in here, according to my Brentford team. Diego Moreira next, and this 17-year-old Portuguese flair player is balanced in terms of personality, described as a winger in terms of the media, and is left-footed. Already he has amazing technique, dribbling skills, and great natural fitness. Is available for about 3 million quid and is a fairly consistent performer already. Get him into your teams. Nasi Unvar, the 19-year-old Dutch player, has got great technique and great flair already at the age of just 19. A fairly determined attacking midfielder here with the best position of attacking midfield left, according to my scouts. Reports-wise, nothing really stands out, and he will cost you a pretty penny, about 15 million, but he's going to be world-class and is pretty much almost world-class already. Nico Sereno is such a versatile player. A balanced winger, he's described as here by the media and by his personality trait. He's left-footed and prefers to play on the left, you can see, but it's like I said, he's versatile almost anywhere on the pitch. He's a mentality monster already at this age and is already fairly consistent. Like, he'll cost you a bit of money, between 15 and 20 million quid, but I'd suggest that's worth it for this guy. Adam Hoslek will cost you a pretty penny, but you can see at the age of 19, he's already one of the best youngsters in the game in terms of attacking midfield left. Also comfortable playing striker as well. He's an ambitious winger, according to the media here, and has got a flair of 17 as well as pace and acceleration of 16 on this save. Reports-wise, we can see he's a fairly consistent performer already at this age. No wonder he's going to cost you about 25 to 30 million quid. World class. Next, we've got David Carlocker, about 15 million quid. He'll set you back at the start of the game. Nothing really standing out for us in terms of attributes at the moment, but we know he's going to grow into a great player. He's got a potential ability of 166 here on this save, but should be looking to add a greater consistency to his game, which could be a concern. Finishing up with Julian Darrenville, a potential ability of 166 here on this save. Comfortable on the right, comfortable on the left. He's fast, agile, and got great natural fitness. A fairly determined winger, he's described as here in the save, and his determination of 15 and technique of 14 underline that, as well as dribbling of 14 as well, to be fair. He's a natural in a couple of positions. His acceleration underpins his overall speed, possesses great pace, fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country, displays a fairly determined attitude, but should be looking to add greater consistency to his game, so something to be wary of. Here's your shortlist. Here's the 20 players, or 21 it might be, players that I've spoken about today. A 17-year-old Irish striker playing for Brighton and is low-key one of the best young strikers in the game in Football Manager, in my opinion. Available for around 20 million quid at the start of the game, and he's already, in this save in particular, got finishing 14, heading 12, the height of 6 foot as well as jumping reach of 12 means he's going to be able to finish with his head, which isn't something which is easy to come by in Football Manager 2023. You can see that he's fast with acceleration of 15 and pace of 13 and has got good work rate as well, which is crucial when playing the type of gegenpress system which is very popular in the game. No real standout pros or cons. When we look under the bonnet, we can see my scout telling me he possesses a fair amount of pace, balanced to normal personality, and has English as his second nationality, and on the con side can only play in a couple of positions right now, for example. Next we got Young Sang Bin, contracted to Wolves but playing for Grasshopper here. He's a 20-year-old South Korean player. He's already had 1 cap and scored 1 goal for his country. Look at his mentals and physicals in particular right here. He's got aggression 17, determination 17, work rate 16, acceleration 16, pace 14. Like, he's already cut from a really good piece of cloth. Again, around the 20 million mark will get you this player straight away, although the fact that he's out on loan could be a bit of an issue straight at the start of the game. But fairly consistent performer underneath the bonnet is huge. Although what's not good is that he's currently out with a long-term injury. Whether that's the case, at the start of the game in your saves. I don't quite know because we're about a week in on here, so you might have picked it up a week in. Let me know in the comments below if he's out straight away at the start of the game. Next, we got Alessandro Bolzan, a 17-year-old Italian striker with a fairly determined attitude, and you can see that in his mental attributes there of determination 17. With great stats and the potential to be really, really good in the future. 13 finishing, 13 first touch, and 13 composure already at the age of 17. And you can see already he's got acceleration and pace to burn as well. He's got the technique, he's got the heading ability, even though he's 5'9". Next we got Iker Villar, the 16-year-old Spanish balanced personality, promising striker according to the media. Dribbling 13, heading 13, technique 13 already. Off the ball flair, acceleration, anticipation, agility, and pace. Again, probably around the £1 million mark you can get this guy for. But my scouts do bring up a couple of red flags here, fairly susceptible to injuries, and should be looking to add a greater consistency to his game. Emre Trezgel next, a player that we spoke about quite a lot on the channel already at this early stage of Football Manager 2023, and someone who I really like personally. You can see he's a 16-year-old English striker who can use either foot, which I think is quite overpowered in Football Manager. Finishing 15 already, as well as first touch 13, composure 13, and bravery 13. And you can see he's got great technique, penalty taking, natural fitness, and pace. You'll get him for around 8 million quid. There's no real pros and no real cons when it comes to hidden attributes, but trust me, this guy is going to be good in the future. Rory Wilson next, the 16-year-old Scottish striker playing for the Aston Villa under 18s. In this save, he's got finishing of 17 already. This is the type of player that you used to get in Football Manager days of old, right? There'd always be this one or two players who are like 16 years old with finishing of 20 already. And you can just buy them and put them straight into your first team almost. Acceleration, balance, jump in reach, pace. He's 6'1". He's got determination, flair, off the ball, teamwork, aggression, obviously finishing, first touch, heading and technique. But the concerns would be how low some of the other attributes are. Obviously he's 16, so they will get higher. But if you're thinking about putting him into your first team straight away, for example, that would be the concern. In terms of reports, we do have a couple of red flags. Very one-footed, fairly susceptible to injuries. Should be looking to add greater consistency. Hopefully he can overcome these, and hopefully these aren't consistent throughout every save. Although it is possible. Do let me know down below if you've signed this guy and is he any good. Arnaud Kalimwendo next, the French 20-year-old striker who is ready to go. You can see, I mean, I'm not even going to talk through his attributes because you can see straight away he's ready to go. 15s, 14s, 13s, every single way. Pick him up for about 20 million quid. You can see he's developed well in his hidden attributes. Fairly consistent performer. Fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country. I can't actually recommend this signing highly enough. Next is Enrique Araujo, a huge potential ability here in this particular save, and really good attributes already. The 20-year-old Portuguese Benfica player has got finishing 14 and composure 14, as well as anticipation, aggression, off the ball. He wouldn't be out of place in a top 4 side with these attributes. Pick him up for around 10 million quid. You can see a hugely consistent performer here in this save, fairly adaptable when it comes to living in another country. No downsides. Get a hold of him. He will score goals, I guarantee it. Next, we got Miaka Berich. I think that's how you say it. The 19-year-old Danish player who's actually on loan from Arsenal. Really good attributes for 19 years old already on this save. Finishing, first touch, passing, technique. Great mentals. Look at that. Work rate 15, vision 12, teamwork 14, etc. Amazing physicals and very tall as well, 6'2". Looking at his reports, you can see fairly consistent performer, right? That's such an important one to have, especially when you're about 20 years old. If you have that at the young age of 20, you're going to be very, very good. You're going to be a good player. There's no doubt about it. Dion Drenna Beljo next. What a name. Absolutely love that. But look at the attributes as well. Finishing 15 already. Flair 15. Off the ball 14. He's 6'5", and he can head the ball and score penalties as well. I mean, what is not to love about this player? Fairly consistent performer already. Available for probably about 4 million quid. He's an absolute steal and could be a goal machine with that height and that finishing ability. Marcus Leonardo next. For me, this guy isn't a hidden gem anymore because we've spoken about him in so many videos. But for you guys watching, potentially he still could be. look at the attributes: finishing, composure, acceleration, all 15s. He's 19 years old. As soon as they pop up to 16s, you've got yourself a top 4, almost world-class player already. Anticipation 14. What's not to love about this guy? Work rate of 14 as well. Obviously, different saves are different, and like attributes can vary, etc. But you can see here, fairly consistent performer already. He's going to be good, surely. Even for the like £15 million that you've got to spend on this guy, it's value for money. I think he's one of the best young strikers. Well, he is one of the best young strikers in the game, without a doubt. Okay, next we got Julian Rijkaard, the 17-year-old Dutch striker with a fairly determined attitude, but crucially can use either foot, right? We spoke about it earlier on in the video. I think it's such an overpowered thing to have. Determination 15 is obviously reflected in his personality. Good physicals, good mentals. I mean, he's not standout, right? You'd expect him to kind of develop really, really fast, hopefully, going into 18, 19, and 20. No real pros and no real cons underneath the bonnet, but huge potential and available for under 10 million quid. What could go wrong? Next, we got Dane Scarlett, but potentially not a hidden gem because he does play for Tottenham, right? He's out on loan at Portsmouth here in the save, and possibly in real life as well. But there is a potential that you might not have heard of this guy, which is why he's on the hidden gem list. He's gonna be a gem for certain. Whether he's hidden or not is kind of a bit subjective. Fairly determined personality is reflected in his determination attribute here of 15. He's got pace, natural fitness, and acceleration, as well as finishing 14 already here on this save, and a hugely consistent performer. Look how dark green that target is. That means it's a good number, like 20 out of 20 potentially. Jason Van Duve next, the 17-year-old Dutch player with great attributes. He's an A- signing here for Man City, which tells you how good he's going to be. He's available for less than 10 million quid. No real pros or cons when it comes underneath the bonnet, but look at this here, right? In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see my Man City squad. You can see Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne up there. There's potential for this guy to be Kevin De Bruyne levels. That is so good for that type of money. Similar again, Rasmus Højlund. Remember the name, finishing 15 already. And look at that aggression, anticipation, and bravery. Great physicals, great mentals, and already he's a good finisher. The 19-year-old Danish 6'3" player can also head the ball. He's going to score goals. Looking into his reports, you can see already a fairly consistent performer, a spirited individual, and good at adapting as well. Again, Kevin De Bruyne levels, potentially. To finish off, we've got Sky Vink, a 16-year-old Dutch player with a fairly professional personality, described here by the media as a promising striker. He's already got jumping reach of 14. He's 6'2". You can see heading of 14 as well. So you know this guy is going to score you some headed goals. Dribbling of 14 added to that is kind of like tells you what type of player this is. It's like a Erling Haaland type player, maybe without the finishing levels that Haaland would have had at 16. Determination 14 as well. Looking at the reports though, we can see again, we talk about Erling Haaland. Look at that. Erling Haaland's potential at the top there, and Sky Vink's potential at the bottom here. He's available for under £1 million quid. Like, what could actually go wrong? So there's your list in full. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to download the list and load it straight into your game, consider hitting the join button just below this video. Everyone who joins as a YouTube member gets access to every single shortlist we've ever made and can download it straight into the game. Patreon, the exact same. I think it's a little bit cheaper as well. But most importantly, please hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Please hit subscribe if you are new, and we'll see you soon.